Welcome to today's session. Today we will be discussing the budget of 2023, which has been tabled by our finance minister on 1st of February 2023. My name is C.A. Shoykot Roy and I have been a part of Clear for the last 4.5 years. Today with me we have Rahul. Rahul will be present there in the chat box should you have any questions, and we will be addressing if you have any question at the end of our session. Now, during this budget, there has been quite a big announcement made by our finance minister. Now, there are certain changes that has been made which is talked about a lot in public, and there are certain changes which are not captured the imagination of the public. We are going to go through the changes that are going to be impactful for all of the people. Mostly our target area will be individuals. Now, in today's session, what we are going to look, what are the topics that we are going to cover? Firstly, we are going to talk about the changes that are made in new tax regime. We are going to see there are certain change in case you are falling under presumptive tax category. There are some news in respect of long-term capital gains. There are some changes in respect of TDS and online gaming, and there are certain other changes which affects a general class of public. Firstly, we are going to go through the big change that has been made in the new tax regime. However, after the discussion of new tax regime, we are going to look at how monetarily it's going to impact the common people should they choose to be taxed under the new tax regime. We are going to do a comparative analysis with the old tax regime and existing new tax regime. Now, what is the big change or other changes that has been made under the new tax regime? Firstly, new tax regime as of now has been made a default tax regime. Previously, the old tax regime used to be the default tax regime. That means if you had not selected any tax regime at the beginning of the year in your employer's portal, the payroll portal, by default they used to select old tax regime as a default tax regime. Your tax would have been computed based on all the deductions and everything available under the old tax regime. The tax computation and tax deduction would have happened based on that. However, as per this budget, the new tax regime has been made the default tax regime. That means if you do not specifically select old tax regime, your by default regime will be the new tax regime. So, coming April, if you are not selecting specifically the old tax regime, you will be taxed under the new tax regime. However, there is this still option to file your income tax return as per the old tax regime once you file the income tax return. But once the selection has been made during the year, there is no option to change between the tax regimes. So this is a big change. Second change is the standard deduction of 50,000 has been extended to new tax regime. Previously, the 50,000 rupees of standard deduction was only available under the old tax regime. However, under the new tax regime, it has been made applicable. Therefore, you are going to get a straightaway deduction of 50,000 rupees from the total taxable income that you have. Thirdly, there are multiple changes made in the slabs of the new tax regime. Previously, before this budget, the slab rate was almost in line with the new, sorry, old tax regime, right? Every increment of 2.5 lakh rupees of income will would have attracted 5% increase in the tax rate. However, as per this new budget, the slab rates has been changed under the new tax regime, right? So let's take a look at the slab rates. Firstly, from 0 to 3 lakh rupees of income, the rate of tax is 0, nil. From 3 lakhs to 6 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%. From 6 to 9 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 10%. From 9 to 12 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 15%. 12 to 15, the rate of tax is 20. And beyond that, the rate of tax is 30%. This will uh, entail a income increase of certain percentage, which we are going to look with the numbers after some time. Now, there is also a rebate limit increase under 87A from 5 lakh rupees to 7 lakh rupees under only the new tax regime. It is to be remembered that the rebate 87A rebate increase has been made under the new tax regime. If you are opting with the old tax regime, you are not going to get the tax rebate. Now, what does that mean? Now, if you would have looked at the slab rates mentioned in the new tax regime that was pre-budget, right? If your income was not more than 5 lakh rupees or it is limited to 5 lakh rupees, the tax would have been computed at the rate of 5% beyond 2.5 lakh rupees. Maximum, it would have come to 12,500 rupees, right? And if your income was not crossing 5 lakh rupees, the entire amount of tax would have been given to you as rebate. However, both the rebate amount and the income amount has been increased in this year's budget. Now, if your income is not crossing 7 lakh rupees, then maximum you can get a rebate of 25,000 rupees or the tax amount. Now, how does that come into computation, right? Now, as we have looked at the tax slabs, right? So, from 3 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%, which will give me a tax amount of 15,000 rupees. From 6 lakh to 9 lakh rupees, the amount is coming to, or rather, tax rate is coming to 10%. Now, uh, the income increase to bring my taxable income to 7 lakh rupees will be 1 lakh. So 10% of tax will be levied on that. So 12,500, 15,000 plus 10,000 rupees, that would give me 25,000 rupees of maximum rebate amount. However, this rebate amount will be limited to a tax amount actually. It is also to be noted that 7 lakh rupees will be computed after giving you a deduction of 50,000 rupees as standard deduction, right? So, technically, if your total gross if your total gross salary is within 7.5 lakh rupees, you are not supposed to pay any taxes under the new tax regime. If you are opting for old tax regime, you can still take the benefit of HRA, ATC, ATD, etc., etc. But if you are if you are earning an income up to 7.5 lakh rupees, that is gross income, from there we will be able to reduce 50,000 rupees as standard deduction, and there will be a rebate given to you that will be limited to 25,000 rupees. Now, the next big change that has been made under the new tax regime is the highest surcharge rate in the tax system used to be 37%. Now, it has been abolished for the new tax regime. Now, the maximum amount of surcharge rate is 25% under the new tax regime. Now, this 37% was applicable if your income is more than 5 CR, right? Now, if your income is more than 5 CR and you are opting for the new tax regime, the surcharge will be limited to 25%, which originally comes into picture once your income crosses 2 CR. Now, over here we have a comparative analysis between the regimes. On the one hand, we are going to look at the old tax regime. We are going to take a look at new tax regime, which was pre-budget. Another part, we are going to look at the new tax regime after the budget has been done, presented. In this scenario, we have computed our total taxable income. We have taken a limit of 16 lakh rupees, income limit of 16 lakh rupees, right? And over here, we have done all the deduction that might be available for you. And we have not considered certain items which may be applicable for you if you are incurring them, right? For example, over here we have taken a salary earning of 16 lakh rupees, right? These 16 lakh rupees has been allocated under the old, new pre-budget and new post-budget, right? Firstly, we are going to deduct standard deduction, which is available for old tax regime and new tax regime, which is post budget, right? Now, over here we have assumed that we have a home loan going on for which we are paying interest, right? And we are assuming that you will be paying a amount which will be more than 2 lakh rupees. Therefore, the interest repayment will be limited to 2 lakh rupees only, right? So from 16 lakh rupees, firstly we will be reducing 50,000 rupees as standard deduction under the old tax regime. And from that 15 lakh 50,000 rupees, we will be reducing further 2 lakh rupees as interest on home loan for self-occupied property, right? It will give me income of 13 lakh 50,000 rupees, right? From there onwards, we are going to reduce uh, our ATC deduction, that is for home loan principal repayment, LICs, PF, ELSS, all those items. Further, we are going to reduce 80D, that is medical insurance premium paid for self and dependent parents who are not senior citizens. So 25,000 rupees in both the cases, so total 50,000 rupees. Further, we are going to reduce contribution in NPS made by self, right? So again, we are going to reduce 50,000 rupees because that is the maximum limit. Now, after all this deduction, right, we will be left with 11 lakh rupees of income. Now, here we are not considering 80 EEB, that is interest on loan paid to acquire electric vehicle. We are not considering this under any of the deductions, right? Further, we are going to reduce 80 CCD, that is employer contribution towards NPS, which can be maximum 10% of our basic salary. Now, this deduction is available under all the regimes, be it new regime, be it old regime, pre-budget, post-budget, it does not matter. We will be able to deduct National Pension Scheme contribution if it is done through the employer, right? Now, after taking all these deduction into consideration, my total taxable income is coming to 10 lakh 50,000 rupees under the old tax regime. Now, pre-budget, it's very simple. Total salary earning is 16 lakh rupees. From there, only one deduction is available for me, that is NPS contribution from our employer, rather through our employer, which will be used to bring down my taxable income to 15 lakh 50,000 rupees. And finally, under the new tax regime, post budget, From 16 lakh rupees, we will be able to reduce two items. One is your standard deduction, that is 50,000 rupees. Another is NPS contribution through employer, which will give me a total taxable income of 15 lakh rupees. Now we can see between the new tax regime pre-budget and post-budget, there is not much change. Only one additional deduction is provided, that is standard deduction. But if we look at taxable income computation as compared to the old tax regime, there is a huge difference under both the tax regimes. However, at the time of tax computation, these small changes will create a big impact. Now, let's take a look at the taxation system after the budget. Now, under the old tax regime, up to 2.5 lakh rupees, there is no tax. The rate of tax is nil, therefore, no taxes. From 2 lakh 50,000 rupees to 5 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%, which will give me a tax of 12,500 rupees, right? So, from 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 10%, which will give me a tax of 1 lakh rupees. And finally, on the balance amount, that is 50,000 rupees, the rate of tax is 30%, which will give me a tax amount of 15,000 rupees. In totality, my income tax will be 1,27,500 rupees. On top of that, we are going to add health and education cess, which will be at the rate of 4%, which will be amounting to 5,100 rupees. So uh, the total amount will be 1,32,600 rupees, and the tax saving under the old tax regime as compared to the new tax regime will be 39,000 rupees. Now let's take a look at the new tax regime, which is pre-budget, right? So from 2 lakh, from 0 to 5, 2 lakh 5,000 rupees, sorry, 2.5 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is again nil. From 2.5 to 5 lakh rupees, it is 5%, 5 to 7.5, 10%. Going on up to 15 lakh rupees, the total tax comes as 2 lakh 2,500 rupees, right? On top of that, we need to include the health and education cess, which will be coming to 8,100 rupees. All in all, the total taxable income or rather total tax will be 2,10,000 rupees. Now, what happens after the budget, right? After the budget, the slab rates has been changed, and it has been changed in such a way the rate is or rather tax is drastically improved. Taxation position has been drastically improved. Now, if we look, uh, the up to 3 lakh rupees, there is no taxes. The rate of tax is zero. From 3 to 6 lakh, the rate of tax is 5%, which will give me a tax amount of 15,000 rupees. From 6 to 9 lakh, the rate of tax is 10%, which will give me tax of 30,000 rupees. From 9 to 12 lakhs, it is 15%, which will give me 45,000 rupees of taxes. From 12 to 15 lakh rupees, the rate is 20%, which will give me 60,000 rupees of taxes. And on the balance amount, that is on 50,000 amount, the rate of tax is 30%, which will again give me a tax of 15,000 rupees. Total income tax will be coming to 1,65,000 rupees. And if we include 4% health and education cess, it will be 6,600 rupees. So total amount will be 1,71,600 rupees. Now, if we look at the new tax regime after the budget, the gap of saving the tax is 39,000 rupees. Now, that means after the budget, the changes that has been made under the new tax regime will give you a improved tax position. Now, still, as compared to old tax regime, if you are making all the investment, the new tax regime does not sound attractive. However, the gap of benefit under the old tax regime that was present has been narrowed down. Previously, there was around 60,000 rupees of tax deficit or other tax betterment if you had gone with the old tax regime. Now the gap has been shortened down to around 40,000 rupees. And as as per our finance minister, this new tax regime is going to be adopted by around 30 to 35% of people, if not more. Now, having understood, hopefully we have understood the new tax regime, the benefit, the changes that has been made in the new tax regime. Now let's try to look at certain benefits, certain amendments has been made in the presumptive taxation. Now, for small businesses or professionals, the department used to give, or the Income Tax Act actually provides a very simplified taxation scheme that is called presumptive taxation scheme. Now, under which businesses has been categorized in two parts. Number one, small businesses, SMEs, and number two is professionals, small professionals who are actually freelancer, uh, or small professional like doctors, engineers who are doing freelancing job, CAs, CASs, etc., etc. Now, for them, having understood that they have difficulties maintaining books of accounts, income tax department, they have made them very attractive by giving them to declare a certain percentage which needed to be considered at the time of filing the income tax return. Now, under this, if you are earning a certain amount of income, a turnover, and a set percentage is given to you to compute the profit, and on that profit, you need to pay the taxes after taking deductions and everything. Now, for small businesses, the amount used to be 2 CR, and for small professional incomes, the amount used to be 50 lakh rupees. Now, the percentage, the certain percentage of profit you needed to declare for small businesses used to be 6% or 8%, depending on which medium you are receiving the fees. For professionals, the profit percentage you need to declare is at least 50%. You can declare more, but the minimum amount you, or other minimum profit you need to declare is 50% of your turnover. Now, now uh, the turnover limit has been increased for both the small businesses and small professionals. Now, the turnover limit for small business is 3 CR, and professions it is 75 lakh rupees, provided the total receipt, right? Provided the cash receipt is no more than 5% of total receipt. For example, if you are going for a professional, professional business or professional, in that case, you are allowed to declare turnover up to 75 lakh rupees, provided your total turnover, or rather your total cash turnover, is not more than 5% of total turnover. Let's say my turnover is 60 lakh rupees. Total turnover is 60 lakh rupees, right? 5% of that will be coming to 3 lakh rupees, right? Now, out of this 60 lakh rupees of total fees that I have received, which is my turnover, my actual cash turnover is coming to 2 lakh rupees, right? Which is well within the limit of 5%. In that case, I will be able to go with presumptive taxation. Now, on this 60 lakh rupees, I need to declare at least 50% as my profit, which will be coming to 30 lakhs. And on that amount, I need to pay the taxes. The similar situation will translate into small businesses, which will be continue to be taxed under 4480. Further, going along, there has been a cap on the tax saving on LTCG, right? So, long term capital gains, if you had, it had certain tax saving element embedded in it, right? Which was coming in your way via section 54 and 54F. Now, section 54 benefit was given if the original asset that is being sold is a house property, and section 54F was given to you if original asset was anything other than a house property. Now, section 54 used to say if you are selling off a house property and you are purchasing a new house property, in that case, you need to invest the gain amount uh, which is coming out of transfer of that old house property and invest in acquisition of the new house property, right? There was a timeline mentioned as well, which has not been tampered with. Now, if this is the situation, then most definitely whatever the gain amount that you are making would have been exempt. Under section 54, it was said that if you had any long-term house, any long-term asset which is other than immovable property, then if you are investing the entire sale proceeds, then the entire amount of gain will be exempted in your hand. Or if you are investing a part of the sale proceed, then proportionate capital gains will be exempted in your hand. However, there was no cap mentioned. You could have earned a gain of 30 crore rupees on sale of a house property. And if you had invested the entire 30 lakh rupees in a house property, acquiring another house property, the gain amount would have been exempted in your hand. However, in this new budget, there has been a cap placed upon the stacks investment part. Now, if the uh, tax saving opportunity is exercised, which is in excess of 10 CR, in that case, any amount which is in excess of 10 CR will be taxed in your hand. In this example, we have taken a capital gains of 30 CR, right? After this budget, out of this 30 CR, only 10 CR is not going to be taxed in my hand. Remaining 20 CR will be taxed in my hand based on the appropriate tax rate. For LTCG, the rate of tax is 20%. Now, there has been an amendment in TDS on the winnings out of online gaming. Previously, if you are partaking in an online gaming contest or a tournament, in that case, had your winning been more than 10,000 rupees, then a TDS amount of or other TDS of 30% would have been deducted out of that winnings. So there was this threshold limit of 10,000 rupees placed on online games winning. Now, as per this budget, this limit has been done away with. Now, even if you won 100 rupees through on for online gaming by winning a tournament or partaking in a tournament, a TDS of 30% would be deducted. So if your winning is 100 rupees, you will be suffering, or rather, you will be incurring a TDS of 30%, and you will end up receiving 70 rupees in your account. So this is going to be a very impactful and big change. Now there are other conditions or other amendments that has been made in the budget. For example, there has been a loophole in the Income Tax Act wherein if I was taking a home loan and paying a interest, then I had a chance to take the benefit of interest that I am paying as deduction from my income. However, any amount I am paying as interest that can also be treated as cost of acquisition of that house property, because I have purchased the house property by taking a loan, and since I have taken a loan to acquire a house property, I have this option to include that interest component in cost of acquisition of the house property, at the time of selling of that house property. Now, this has been plugged. Therefore, if you are taking a home loan and claiming deduction for that home loan interest and principal, in that case, uh, they will not be they will not be counted towards cost of acquisition of that house property. Excuse me, of that house property. Therefore, uh, any interest that has been claimed as deduction under section 24 or any interest that has been claimed as deduction under 80EE or 80EEA will not be included in cost of acquisition or cost of improvement of that house property. Secondly, market linked debentures are now will be taxed as short term capital gains. Now, market linked debentures are listed securities, and any gains that you are incurring from the transfer of them will be treated as short term capital gains. Therefore, uh, all the taxation will be based on it. Whatever the tax rate is, it will be taxed at that rate. That will be slab rate in this case. Furthermore, there will not be any indexation benefit applicable for it. Now we are at the end of our session, and I will be opening up the floor for question and answer. Right. So, new regime opt in and opt out in case of employees having income from business and profession. Now, in this scenario, what will happen is the same situation that has happened pre-budget, that old tax regime that you can opt into. You can opt into new tax regime only once if you have business and professional income, and you can opt out of it only once if you have business tax income. The same scenario will continue to be applicable under the post budget new tax regime as well. Right. We are going to wait for another couple of minutes. If no questions are coming up, then we are going to conclude this session. Well, as I have said at the beginning of this webinar, that if you are not specifically opting for the old tax regime, your tax will be computed and deducted based on the new tax regime, that is or after all the change that has been made in the budget, right? After giving you a standard deduction of 50,000 rupees, if you have employer contributions through NPS, that will be there. Apart from that, no other deduction will be considered, and you have to actively select the old tax regime so that you continue to be taxed under the old tax regime. However, at the time of filing the income tax return, you can switch into a new tax regime or the old tax regime, whichever suits you. Now, since the old tax regime is still ongoing, there has been no announcement to withdraw this. If anyone is earning income from business and profession, in that case, they can continue to be taxed under the old tax regime. Right. We will be concluding our session now. Thanks for joining in. Hope you we were able to sort out certain confusion regarding budget that you may had. Thank you.